Greetings, everybody. Farm to Table, here we are. cu222 Farm to Table, week 2. How's everybody doing? Chef Greg, how you doing?
I am good. Sorry, my camera turned off. Good. Everything's good.
No worries. You're all good. How's everybody else out there? The World Wide Web. All right. Good. Cool. So, let's talk about reflection. Week 1. How do people feel? Deborah and I were just talking about, she made the chimichurri. She felt it was a little too tangy for her likes, but her daughter really liked it. Did anybody else have any experience with one of the herb condiments that you made that you want to comment on or ask a question about? Alicia.
I know it may sound like a stupid question, but I don't eat anchovies, and I haven't tasted them. I don't know what they taste like. They look like sardines, so my daughter said they were salty. Was I supposed to rinse them off first?
No, anchovies are very, very salty. You can find them salt-packed or oil-packed, and they do look like very teeny tiny anchovies. If your dressing, did you find that your dressing was too salty?
Yes.
Okay. So then I would think about if it was too salty for your taste, right? We were talking about this before, right? If something isn't good for your taste, then you might want to first, of course, go through the proper procedure, make sure you've measured everything, make sure you have your photos correct, and then start to adjust that a bit, right? Say, okay, maybe this is too salty. What can I do? Maybe I need to add more oil, okay? Maybe I need to bulk up other ingredients, because if you add Parmesan, you're looking at Parmesan cheese, Romano cheese. You made the pesto, I'm assuming, correct? No. Oh, sorry, you didn't make the pesto. Sorry, I was.
Gremolata.
Caesar, yeah. The gremolata. Thank you, chef. So maybe you want to add more oil. Maybe you want to add more parsley. But it could have just been a personal thing where it was too salty for you. So I would start to add more oil to that, or more parsley, or a little bit, hit more of lemon juice, because acid and salt, right? Everything is a balance, right? So you're going to want to play around with that. So not a stupid question at all. It's a good question.
Michelle has a hand up, chef.
Yes. Michelle. You're muted.
I made the chimichurri, and it was so good. I ended up for the next week's assignment using leftover of it and tossing some potatoes on it and roasting those like that.
Yeah, awesome. You said you made the chimichurri, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, chimichurri tossed on roasted potatoes. I mean, you guys, that's why Chef Greg and I were talking about. Start to get creative, right? Using one of these herbs, I'll tell you what's killer. Even boiled new potatoes, I love pesto. Tossed with pesto, hello heaven, all right? Start thinking about these flavor combinations, how you can use it. Gremolata, right? Alicia, I was just thinking about this. Did you taste the gremolata on its own, or was it too salty with whatever else you had?
With everything.
With everything. Was it too salty on its own?
Yes.
Okay, because I was thinking, maybe sometimes if you have a salty protein or an over-salted potato, something like that, and then you add something salty on top of it, it's only going to bring that saltiness level up. So that's another way to think about how to compensate, right? For salt. Salt's a tricky thing to get rid of. Once you've added it, it's in there. But there are ways to remove and reduce the saltiness, mostly by increasing your volume. Or if you're cooking a dish, you could put a potato in there, because potato is going to soak up a lot of that extra sodium, okay? Another thing to think about, weather just got really crazy out here as well, chef. Okay, so when you're thinking about it, start to get creative, which is going to lead us into, oh, I see Carrie's got a hand. Carrie, yeah.
Yeah, I made the pesto,
Yes.
and it seemed like it was too much oil, so I added more herbs. I added more basil, and it soaked it up a little bit. But what really soaked it up was when I added it to my chicken. I think it took my chicken to a whole nother level, having that extra oil. So I'm glad I didn't take it out.
Good.
It was really, like, I love pesto, and it was really, really flavorful. And I think it was because there was so much oil.
Yeah, probably. Remember, fat is flavor, right? Fat is a carrier of flavor. Okay. I hope that everybody enjoyed it. And again, start thinking about how else to utilize these dips, right? A crudité platter, right? Even if you were to blanch a bunch of vegetables or have them raw, that chimichurri. How can you take these herb condiments and then say, what if I now made an aioli, right? What if I took mayo or sour cream or another dairy base and added a little bit of that pesto? Now I have a pesto aioli, okay? Start thinking about this when you're creating menus, and if you're ever in the position of creating menus for your establishment, how you cross-utilize. If you have a pesto dish on the menu, well, then you're gonna wanna, hey, let's get creative. Let's put this pesto aioli, make a little pesto aioli, because I'm making pesto anyhow, right? So I've got the ingredients. And I'm gonna slap that on a, let's think about what would be delicious with some pesto aioli. Maybe a burger, maybe a BLT, maybe a fried green tomato BLT, and a little bit of pesto, or a nice sandwich, roasted turkey breast and tomato and arugula and a little bit of pesto aioli. Right? So start thinking about that. Start thinking about how you can play, as Michelle was saying, she utilized her leftovers to make another dish. Start thinking about how do you utilize those. Maybe you marinate a fish in that and gremolata or that chimichurri or your meat or your chicken, and then you cook it, right? Start thinking about this. So on the topic of flavor and all things wonderful and delicious, Chef Greg, what do we have for week 2? Week 1 reflection.
Week 1. I saw a ton of good ingredients. You guys definitely started to step up the creativity, which was awesome. One thing a couple people had noted was plating. So Chef Catherine and I we're going to show some things today to talk about plating, and then just keep being creative. There are a couple of weeks where you guys will be able to cook really anything you want. There's a couple of weeks you'll follow the recipe, so it's a good mix. But everybody honestly did a really great job on everything, and there was a good mix of who did what as far as the condiments go, which was really nice to see as well. Michelle has a hand up.
Oh, okay. Michelle, yeah. Michelle, or was that from before?
It just popped up.
Oh, okay.
Talking about, your ingredients and stuff and going back, when you're talking about recipes differing, I know it's one recipe that I make quite often, and I was looking at the recipe and I'm like, yeah, that's not grandma's. I was like, where's the boiled egg? Where's this? But, like you said, each recipe is different from family to family, and so I'm interested on how this one turns out. I'll find out this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. And remember, I think we talked about this briefly, your product, right? Your product throughout the season and throughout the year is going to have more or less acid or sugar concentration, right? Different flavor profile. Those change how the end product results, the end product as well. All right. Chef, did you want to talk a little bit more about plating or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We can do that now. So a couple of people have just mentioned plating and how they kind of wanted to elevate it. And I was trying to give verbally some suggestions, but I thought maybe visually it would help also. So definitely you would have something in your mind, you can draw it out, all those things. But sometimes like you don't necessarily need to steal ideas, but sometimes you need to see other people's just to kind of get your own ideas going. So for some examples, so this week is gazpacho. Gazpacho is a cold tomato soup, which you guys will be making. So I typed in Michelin star restaurant, and then I typed in gazpacho. So they're not just putting soup in a bowl. This one here is like a deconstructed gazpacho. So this one's a little bit out there. But then we start to look at this. So they have a lot of herbs. They have colors on here. Again, this is kind of a frozen one. So these are kind of a little more extreme examples, but it's always great to look at what people are doing for the dish or for what you're making. We have, this one was good also. It's in a bowl, but they have a lot of colors. They have little pieces of tomato here. They have other ingredients. There's little, it looks like pickled garlic on here. So they have other ingredients that go into the soup, but they're still garnishing with that. And then I typed in Michelin star plates. So if we look at just a couple of these, a couple ones that maybe are a little bigger. But if we look at these, they just have so much colors. You can see the ingredients. So if you have a dish that you're making and you type in whatever it is, Michelin star, or a crazy Italian place like Combal Zero in Italy, and you're making chicken parm, see how they do it and just keep the ideas flowing. This one is 11 Madison Park. This is the best restaurant in the entire world. But if we look at their dishes, they have kind of a common theme. They have a lot of green to it. They have a lot of colors. Every dish is showing things that are fresh. We're in a farm-to-table class, which is great. But if you think about how many things that you have that you could still make things like this, we just did an herb condiment. So if you were doing pesto, did the basil that you buy, did it have the little flowers on the top? If you think about dill, they have those little flowers. Parsley, you have parsley leaves. Celery, the inside of celery. So if you take just 3, 4, 5 of those ingredients, the top of a carrot, if you have carrots with the greens on them, beet greens, you can make an herb salad, and then you can really start to learn how to just keep elevating dishes by not being crazy. Some of these ones, of course, the ingredients are very, very high end, but then there's other ways to do it. This one is pea shoots, cornichons. This is some type of terrine, but if you think about this, this has a gremolata on it right here. But the way the dish is laid out and presented and seeing all the ingredients, it looks just much, much more attractive to the eye, and it makes your eye move around the plate. And then also, I did want to show you guys this one when we're talking about ingredients. So this is an Instagram. So these dishes obviously look extremely good, I would say. However, when we start to look into the dishes more and we actually look what the ingredients are. So this one has fruit roll-ups on it. This one has Twizzlers. So what this person does is plate things that are just really common things would be in your pantry, but it really is just all about how they plate it and combine the colors. This one has golden Oreos. This one is Swedish fish on it. So they're plating just common things, but it's the way that they're plating it to make it look attractive that it really, I mean, these look just like Michelin star dishes, and one of them has Doritos on it, which is up here. But it's really about how that they're plating it. So it's always great to look at Instagrams or Google images and just see what somebody else is doing and then start to put that in your mind. So when you're making something, you can kind of start to elevate what you were doing.
I love that. Chef brings up a brilliant point, okay, highlighting this Instagram specifically. You don't need to spend a bunch of money on high-end ingredients to start playing with your food, right? Think about everything that you have. Do you have crackers that you can crumble, that you can pulverize, that you can try and cut? What do you have? What do you have that you can play with that adds texture or height or anything? Okay, to just get comfortable with it. Plating takes years also. I know when I started out, I was like, man, I just like can't make this look cool. Why can't I? And it takes time. It really takes, some people immediately have it, right? Really, they walk in and they can, and they just have a vision and they can execute it and get hyped. But for some of us, it takes a little bit longer to understand that balance of how can I cut, right? This is when knife cuts become crucial. You saw that cornichon that chef showed, right? On the bias with the bottom leveled off so that it could stand upright, right? So that was a simple cornichon, but it got about 1.5 inches height on that plate, okay? Think about what you can do. Think about honey. Think about honey on a dessert, how you can drizzle it the right way. So start thinking about how to drizzle, how to apply sauces. Not only are there Instagrams, but you can do a Google search on YouTube, like for the art of plating. Watch how it's formed, right? And it doesn't always have to be this super high-end, molecular, teeny little beads. There are ways to present normal foods if you slice something the right way, if you lay it on the plate the correct way. Think about how simple this might be. Even your sauces, right? You've got this vibrant color, that pesto, that chimichurri. How do you apply it? Are you just slapping it all on? Or maybe you have your presentation, right? And then you do 3 little dots, or 4 dots, going from larger to smaller of that sauce as well, okay? Maybe you take the herb that was used in that herb condiment, and as Chef Greg said, using the flour, use that to garnish it further. Maybe you take some spice and put that on there. Maybe you shave your Parmesan cheese, instead of grating it, you take a knife or a peeler, a vegetable peeler, and get a nice long piece of a Parmesan, okay? It's all about using the ingredients you have at hand and creating something different with it. So it's not just a chicken breast. It's sliced on a bias. It's fanned out. It's whatever, okay? And you're gonna have some fails, okay? Trust me, we all do. But that is what is fun, okay? It's about trying new things. And then you do something awesome and you just are so excited. And it's so simple, some of these plating techniques. Get different sized spoons. That's another thing I would tell you to invest in. Spoons, right? You don't need to have super high, crazy applications, right? Different size and shapes of spoons. Guess what? A toothpick. A toothpick on, who's ever seen, let me pull this up. Let's see, one of those desserts. Let's see, spider. Let's see if I can get this on first try. Probably not. But who's ever seen one of those desserts that have all those little spokes coming out?
I can work on that, finding that, Chef.
Okay, awesome. Because guess what? Once Chef Greg shows you this, you're gonna think, man, wow, I don't even know how that was done. Guess what? You can do that with a toothpick. You have 2 different colored sauces. Say you have a strawberry sauce and a chocolate sauce. Swizzle that, move those together. You can do fans, okay? You can take a fork tine, a tine of a fork if you don't have that, okay? You can get, you'll see a lot of brush strokes on plates these days, right? Get yourself a food grade brush and you can apply that sauce on there. It's not one of my favorite looks, but some people are into it, right? You have to find your own unique, your own creative thing. Maybe it's just, you just love putting tons of fresh herbs and edible flowers on your dishes. Awesome. Guess what else is super easy to make? Green herbed oil. And guess how freaking awesome that looks on your plate? Bright green oil. It can get drizzled on top of a soup. Gazpacho, potato and leek. Think about where those flavors complement one another. Okay, so say you had a vichyssoise, the cold potato and leek soup, and then a little green oil drizzled on top, right? Or who knows, another dish, and you've infused oils with chili, and so you have a rusty red color oil that you can put on top. Colors are hiding everywhere within the food spectrum. So start playing with your food. Does anybody have any questions regarding plating or something specific related to plating that we could address right now?
Yeah, I can tell you're not a parent because you just said play with your food. My dad used to tell me, food's supposed to be eaten, not played with.
Yeah, well, not in this profession, guys and gals. That's what we're here to do. We're playing with food every day. We're playing with fire, too. And I'm pretty sure my mom told me not to do that. So, and knives, okay? So we're breaking rules, okay? And that's what is happening in restaurants. People are breaking rules. People are saying, hey, you look back into the 80s, okay? When you start looking at restaurant industry and history, look in the 80s and 90s, old school French. That was like awesome. And or other times when everything came with a sprig of parsley. Okay, times are changing. Plating is changing. Plating is, when I was in culinary school, people were not plating at this level. That was not a thing. Okay, it was the old school style. We hadn't broken into this new level yet. So
I found some photos for you.
let's roll, chef.
Got. Where is it? Okay. So chef was talking about a spoon. So this one is dots of sauce on a plate, and then you drag the spoon through it. Chef was talking about the toothpick. If you put sauce down and then put different, this one was done with rings. And then, where is it? This one was done with a paintbrush. This is just two sauces next to each other. And then drug with a toothpick, it looks like hearts. And then chef was also talking about the dots in different shapes. You can really make your eye move around the plate just by having everything. This, you would just need like a basic plastic squeeze bottle, and then you could do something like this.
Thank you, chef. Also
Welcome.
remember when doing these, there hits a limit of what is too much on a plate. Is it distracting? And do those flavors have a point? So remember, when you're garnishing and plating, does the flavor make sense? Are you adding something just for appearance sake? If so, pull it. There's no point, right? You want to make sure it also has flavor, that it has the right texture, consistency. These are all important things. So white space helps on a plate. White space really lets other items pop out. Height as well, okay? Texture. Think about that lettuce. Does everybody remember that lettuce called frisee? One that almost looks like crazy curly coral that's green. Think about what that can do for a salad on the height. Just adds an extra like 2-3 inches right there. And a vibrant lighter green compared to that would contrast maybe with your other mixed greens, darker greens. So color contrast. Okay, think about those. What works well? You have the whole rainbow to work with. You have purple cabbage, you have yellow peppers, you have pink beets, everything. So use that, right? We're all artists, so keep pulling on that. Now, let's think about, that was for you, Marcus. Let's think about plating and really just step it up, all right? Challenge yourself. And if it doesn't turn out right, that's okay. All right, so we've covered plating. Now, let's hop into what week 2 is gonna be all about. I'm gonna pull up the class page. We're gonna see where we're heading into. Chef Greg already said we're making gazpacho, but there's something else hiding behind the door of gazpacho. And why? First of all, gazpacho right now, great time. It's summer. Get the best, the freshest that you can so that flavor really pops. And then let's pull this up. All right, here we are, week 2. Now, as you can see, we've got the standard, right? Research materials, everything, blah, blah, blah. What's in a label? That is the topic for this week, okay? So we're gonna dive into that. First, I just wanna go over this stuff briefly, then we're really gonna start talking about what exactly is in a label. So you pull out those research materials, you've got links to 2 different articles that are online. Heirloom and heritage, what does that mean? It's a great explanation of what these terms actually mean. And then the one below it, what food labels mean and don't, which breaks it down into organic and low sodium, sugar-free, et cetera, okay? Now, for the professional cooking chapter, you obviously all should have read this. If you have not yet, please revisit it. But what I want you to pay special attention to, because this was a long time ago when you read that, the real important stuff here, all right? is where we get, right here, okay? Oh, where the heck is it? Boom, there we go. We talked about, it starts right, I mean, all of this works, you know, this is really where you want to get into, okay? Cooking in the 20th and 21st centuries, okay? Where we start talking about the developments of cooking styles, of food, right? And then it goes the emphasis on ingredients, okay? Slow food is a movement. It's an organization you can actually join, okay? And it's really about maintaining these heirloom and heritage varieties, which I will talk to you a little bit about, but then we go into GMOs, biodynamic, organic, free range, I think it also talks about, might not, but that's the most important part. The organization of the modern kitchen, sure, definitely take another look if you've forgotten that, but that's not what we're focusing on here. We're really focusing on this information here about how new technologies have changed and what some of these other, you know, farm to table, ding, 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 this information, okay? So there you go. Let's see, now, going back, we've got, so this week's assignment, which is gazpacho, and here you go. Standard, right? Self-ID, mise en place, Sani, okay? Your narrative reflection sheet, make sure you're doing this. Finish gazpacho, let's see that plating, step it up, right? Maybe you wanna do 2 identical bowls, maybe you wanna have a third one that you give it a go. Remember, a bowl does not have to be big. A bowl can be quite small, okay? Think about that. If you wanna start playing, okay? Garnish, for this one, the crouton, and there's actually some small dice of the vegetables as well. That's part of the garnish, okay? So think about how you can accentuate and maybe change the crouton. So for the recipe, which do I have it pulled up? There we go. For the recipe, you'll see there were some adjustments made. It is now correct. Actually, it is still not. This needs to be adjusted again. I will get that fixed. Once again, this is, for whatever reason, we're having some issues, everybody, with the tech and getting the spacing correct on this. That should be a 1/4 teaspoon of that crushed garlic, 5 ounces of the fresh white breadcrumbs, 1 cup of water or tomato juice, not 1 cup of red wine vinegar. That is going to be disgusting, all right? It should be 1 ounce of red wine vinegar and 1 ounce of olive oil. I'm probably just going to make a new document and throw this in there because this is the second rewrite and it's not correct. So, my apologies, class, but I will get that fixed again. So, you will see that here you've got the white bread, right? So you trim the crust and cut the bread into small cubes. But maybe you say, I saw that one gazpacho that Chef Greg put on, and it had a really long piece of bread, right? So maybe you're gonna do one that's standard, right? Per the requirements of the assignment, all right? Everything to a T. But then maybe you say, yeah, I'm gonna mess around, I'm gonna have some fun. I'm gonna make a really long crouton and I'm gonna rest it across the bowl, right? On the top, and I'm gonna put something else on there. Have fun with it, okay? Do a third one for fun if you wanna challenge yourself, if you wanna play, okay? That's what I would recommend. So I will fix that recipe and yeah, let's keep on rocking, guys. Things happen, mistakes happen, and that's where we're at. So again, my apologies, class. Yes, Michelle.
Just a heads up, when you're doing the croutons, really keep a look on them because 1 minute they can be white, the next minute burnt. I mean, real quick.
Oh,
I had to redo mine like 3 times.
Yeah, you should not, when you're making croutons in a pan, do not walk away from them, right? You want to keep that heat low. You want to get nice color on all sides, right? All sides are critical to this, or at least, majority of the sides. It's cube, so you've got, 6 sides. At least 4 of them should have some decent color, okay? Because what are we dealing with? We're talking about the crunch, texture. Everybody, who's ever had the bite of a crouton at a place and it's not crunchy, it's kind of soggy, right? Not pleasant, right? So also think about heat control, right? You want to control your heat. Now, does anybody have any questions about the gazpacho, the recipe, et cetera, because otherwise we're going to start talking about what's in a label. Amber.
I actually have a question. I don't have a blender or food mill. Can I use a food processor for keeping an eye on it?
Yep, definitely. Okay. Food processor, if that'll do the. Don't fill it up too much because otherwise you're going to go out the sides. Mm-hmm. So just maintain your quantity. If you need to break it down into 2 portions, depending upon. 1 second. I just heard something fall down. I just got to go step away for 1 second, Chef Greg. Sorry.
Okay.
I'll be back in 1 second.
All right. So as nobody has any more questions on gazpacho, so we're going to start talking about labels, which kind of brings up a lot of opinions on something that there really necessarily shouldn't be a lot of opinions on. So you would think on things like with a label, it would be exact, like a nutrition label, for example. So here is an example of something that you would think should be exact and isn't necessarily exact. So this is pan spray, non-fat, 0 fat, 0 calories pan spray. However, when we look at the nutrition label on the back, a serving size is 1/3 second of a spray. So I probably cannot even put my finger down and up quick enough to be 1/3 of a second of a pan spray. So there's 340 of those. But when we look at this, 1/3 of a second technically is no fat, no calories. But 1 second, a much realistic, more spray of a pan, is 10 calories and 10 calories from fat. It's also 1.5 grams of fat. So when you're looking at labels, even on things, this is just an example for fat-free pan spray, it's really not fat-free. The portion size is so unrealistically small. Technically that's fat-free, but it's really not. So when you're looking at labels on things, we're going to talk more about kind of like chicken and free range and stuff like that. But even things from the grocery store, is it really fat-free? You look at the back of it, it's actually not. So labels, just like when we were talking about like advertising and marketing, what is farm to table, what is fat-free, what's gluten-free, all of these products, if you really look into it, a lot of times it's not. But legally, they can market it as that. So it's definitely something to you have to be careful on and you have to look into.
Awesome. Thank you, Chef.
You're welcome.
I love that example with the pan spray and the quantity of fat, right? So you have to look at those labels. Labels, serving size means something. You will see in the other write-up about sugar-free or low sodium. What does low sodium mean? Reduced sodium. What does that mean? There are very different specifications on what the USDA has agreed upon. So one might think, I'm just going to pull this up because it's great. One might think that, oh, it's low sodium or reduced sodium. Reduced sodium, if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure I'm right, but reduced sodium only means that it has to have 25% less than the original version, okay? So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's low sodium. Is it reduced sodium? Yes, from maybe a huge quantity, okay? So here's this article. Just gonna pull it up, so where are we? There we go. This is the Consumer Reports one. This breaks it down a little bit more easier than others. If you want to start getting deep into it, check out the USDA and the FDA. That's where you're going to find, it depends upon your reading style preference. And this is very digestible, okay? So we're also going to talk about organic versus natural. Guess what, guys? Hate to burst everybody's bubble. Natural doesn't mean diddly squat, okay? So start getting your facts right, because marketing is a huge game. We're lured in by the word natural because it evokes this idea of, oh yeah, That's good for me. Natural doesn't necessarily mean good for you. It is a marketing term. There's no true definition of what natural means. Okay? So, you have been warned. Check it out yourself. Okay? Now you're going to go into pasture raised versus free range. I'm going to take a pause on this. All right? Let's see. We talked about this a little bit last week. I said, hey, start looking at those egg containers, right? Did anybody get a chance to go to the store and look at the eggs? Well, I'm going to pull this up so you know what exactly we're talking about. Wow. All right. So here we go. We've got American Humane Certified, Certified Humane, Food Alliance Certified, Cage-free, pasture-raised or pastured, vegetarian-fed, hormone-free, natural, free-range, USDA organic, omega-3 enriched, antibiotic, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Now, a lot of these labels will lure us in. A lot of these labels also have higher prices, right? So I might think, oh, I'm getting free range or cage free. This is good. Those chickens have a good life. They're outside. Well, guess what? Cage free. Let's just look at this. Free space to roam, but no access to sunlight. Allows beak cutting. That's a whole other. Beak cutting is something that we can talk about, but if you want to go into the research of that, there are pros and cons to beak cutting, okay? Because, for example, you look at the American Humane Certified label, and that does allow beak cutting. Beak cutting, the animals peck at each other, okay? But cage-free, and we don't have any access to sunlight? Well, wait, what the heck? What about pastured? Okay, let's see what that means. Graze outdoors, that's pretty good. What about free range? Prohibits cages, requires access to outdoors, a small door or concrete slab counts. Does not regulate the feed. So that might mean those chickens are out there picking away at little grubs and delicious treats outside, but that their main feed is GMO soy and corn. Maybe it's non-GMO corn and soy. But if they were getting non-GMO corn and soy feed, guess what? They're most likely going to spring for that certified organic. Okay? Another thing to consider. Guess what getting certified involves? A lot of moolah. It costs a lot of money to get certified. To have the USDA organic, some farmers might be growing organically, but they can't spring the thousands of dollars to get that certificate. So, goes back to knowing your farmer. Knowing how he or she raises their animal, how they live, that livestock lives. What are they feeding them? Okay? So labels, they will get you. You have to be aware as a consumer and also as a purchaser for a restaurant, an establishment. Okay? Hear me out. So, if you are buying free-range chicken eggs for your restaurant, you're going to pay more per dozen than a conventional egg. Certainly. We know that's what we see in the grocery stores too, right? They're stepping levels of price points. So that's also reflected in purchasing in the industry as well. You're gonna have different price points. An organic chicken breast is gonna cost X. A conventional chicken breast is gonna cost Y. Natural or an hormone free. All of these differences have prices associated with them, okay? So, how do you balance that? How do you think that affects your bottom line, your food cost? If you don't know what a label means, if you're buying natural chicken, natural, and you're paying an extra 50 cents per pound, and you're not getting anything better, that is money just throwing down, right? Now, on the contrary side, right? Flip side. What if you're putting that on your menu? Natural chicken, free range. Customers are going to pay more, certainly. But are you duping the customer? Possibly. Hey, are you giving what you purchased and that's the label? Yeah. Okay. It is a crazy game out there. We can play, as Chef Greg and I have said, we will play both sides of this. There's no right, there's no wrong. It comes down to your choice, your bottom line, your morals, what you want to do, what you want to serve, what you want to sell, and how you want to make money. Different ways to go about it. Because guess what? If you really do have super high quality, wonderfully pasture raised, heritage pig on your menu, guess what? You can charge more for that. And your customers are going to think, man, I don't know what's up with that pork, the best pork I've ever had in my life. And they're going to keep coming back because it's awesome and it's full of flavor. Guess what else? We're talking about farm to table. We're going to get down to this later, but there's a demand for that. That's a trend. People want that. People want better food, better quality food. The agricultural system became industrialized in the 1940s, 1950s, okay? At that time, let's take a pause. Let's take a time out. I see some questions up here. Amber, is it related? I want to keep on this subject, though. Is it related to what we're talking about right now, or can we hold off?
Kind of, but it's more or less just how I watched a documentary called Food Inc. before, like several years ago, and now I do not trust Tyson chicken. I don't care what they say. I still don't trust them.
Okay.
I will only get Tyson unless I really have to.
Okay, you know,
It's,
and so
yeah.
you have made a decision, and that's fine. But I'll tell you what, you're probably eating Tyson chicken in almost every establishment you go out and eat at, because they are the biggest supplier of chicken, right? Now, have they started to make different changes in their processes? Yes, because there's a demand. When the demand is created, the companies will change because they have to, because they can no longer sell the product. Like I said, it's a crazy game out there. Tyson is actually, get this, starting to, there's a product, a test product that they're coming out with, which are like crunchers or something. And they're taking some chicken byproduct and other byproducts from like waste from vegetables, but not really waste. It's still totally edible. And they're turning them into these crispy little delightful things. And guess what? Reducing food waste. So if a massive corporation like Tyson, who's supplying the entire chain, is starting to make advancements and are aware of what the people are demanding, the consumers are demanding, it starts to happen. So yeah, definitely, Amber, I hear that, I respect that, and I understand that totally. Remember, always research both sides, right? Documentaries can be very biased. I can be very biased. Chef Greg could be. Everybody is. We all have our personal opinions. Every blog that you read might be getting paid by for somebody else, okay? Remember that. It's crazy, but it's marketing. Michelle, is your comment on the food, on labeling and such? Yeah? All right, bring it on.
Yes. It's actually about the natural. When you think of natural, you can always think of like your hair. You know, I'm a natural brunette. It's brown. So if you're talking about a chicken, yeah, it's a natural chicken. It's not been injected with like duck DNA or something like that. So technically, it is a natural chicken if it's really a natural chicken. You see what I'm saying? So you could put that on without actually cheating your guests.
Yeah, correct. Natural is natural. There's no, that's the thing. There's no legal definition of what natural means. Okay? So those topics about the menu and whatnot, those are things to start to ponder. Okay? To think about What am I buying? What is this? Looking at my labels of ingredients, all this, okay? I want to talk a little bit about organic versus conventional. Anybody have any thoughts on which is better? Who thinks organic is better? For produce, let's talk about produce. Who says organic is better? No? Who says conventional is better? All right. So, in order to fully understand what is the difference between organic and conventional, we have to do research. Because guess what? Both of them have pesticides applied. However, organic have organic pesticides applied as opposed to synthetic chemical ones. Okay? So they don't both have pesticides, right? Organic doesn't necessarily mean pesticide free, but different chemicals. Okay? This is a huge, huge conversation out there. Okay? We could spend days and days and days talking about this. So we can't go down that rabbit hole. I want you all to check that out. I'd also like you to look the next time you go to the supermarket. If you've got it in your cash book, right, your pocketbook, buy, maybe start off with a piece of produce or garlic or something like that. Because meat and animal products tend to get a little more pricier when you're doing a comparison of conventional versus organic. But buy an organic apple and a conventional apple. Do that for a set of eggs, dozen eggs, right? Maybe you're gonna spend $4, if you're lucky, $4.50 on some organic eggs, depending upon where you live, and $1.29 on commodity conventional eggs. Crack those suckers open. Look at the yolk. See what's going on, okay? Do a comparison. Look at price point. When you go to the supermarket, look at the prices. Check out the texture of them all. Do they have wax on it? Does it have a smell to it? Start observing your products, okay? One of my favorite ways to do a test is sour cream. If you eat dairy, it's pretty affordable. And for me, if you look at the ingredient list on something like Breckstone for sour cream, they have xanthan gum, they have other preservatives in it, and then take a spoonful of that. Check the mouthfeel, check the color. Then compare that to an organic dairy product, sour cream. See if you notice any flavor comparison. In some products, Chef Greg and I have had this conversation. Some products, you cannot tell the difference taste-wise. Some you can. But if you cut, what would we use? We were talking about zucchinis, right, Chef? If you take a conventional zucchini and an organic zucchini and get some butter or olive oil, whatever we want, saute it up. See if you notice a difference. Okay? This is how you start to make observations. You have to come to your own conclusions. What's in your price point? What's good for you? What works for your budget? What works for your restaurant? What works for your family? Okay? So I'll get to you in a second, Alicia. Observe these differences in price, especially when you go to the supermarket. Jot them down. Just look at it, right? See what there is. Some places, organics are going to be a lot cheaper, some more expensive. It depends on where you live. Maybe you don't even have availability to organic products or produce. That is also a reality. Some areas you just can't find it. Alicia, what's up?
You mentioned zucchini, and that was the seed packet that I chose to plant with the zucchini. Chef Gregory said something about it, and I was just wanting him to elaborate on it. I don't know if he was saying like it was a bad choice, I had a smaller thing, or they don't grow as well, or I'm not sure what he meant by it.
No, I didn't say it was a bad choice at all. Just remember, we're going to check up on it every couple of weeks. You're going to do week 3, week 6, and then hopefully you have some type of part. It probably won't grow an entire zucchini. Hopefully, though, you can either use the zucchini leaves, Maybe there's some flowers on there, something that when we get to week 12, hopefully you can use some part of the zucchini, or the zucchini plant.
Yeah, that's why we suggested herbs, because herbs grow rapidly, readily, they're easy to grow, they're a bit sturdier. So if you can, I would say, let me drop some parsley seeds in there and get those going. Parsley's pretty.
I can change the fruit that I have. I can change it.
Yeah, you can change it, but
Sure.
keep growing that zucchini. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, you might have in 12 weeks, you might have a whole zucchini flower. You can fry it or garnish or stuff it, and you can put that right on your week 12. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Unless you have a super green thumb, it was more about this is like herbs are the beginner step into the gardening world, right? Herbs are pretty good, pretty sturdy.
Yeah,
But you're
I'm
good.
pretty cleaned out, so they had nothing left.
Okay. Well, that so be it. That's all good. All right. All right. Cool. So we got about 10 more minutes here. Again, like I said, so much to talk about knowing your labels. Start reading the backs of your products. Everything. All right. Know what you're purchasing. Is there value? That's the biggest thing. Know your meanings and the descriptions. If it says hormone free, well, were hormones ever being used, or is that just another marketing ploy? GMO verified. You might have seen that. This is, let me see if I can pull that up. GMO verified. You'll see this at Whole Foods. It's like all, here we go. There we go. This. If you've ever shopped at Whole Foods and at regular stores, you'll see that this little, did I do this right? No, that's not the right one. That's another one. One sec. This must be it. Yep. Non-GMO project verified, right? See this little thing up there? You'll see that in the corner of some products. Well, guess what? Look at this. There's steps to verification. Okay, let's see what that is. Okay, so you got to sign this and do this and this, and then you've got to do annual renewal. What is it? So you've got to get evaluated. You have to go through testing labs, okay? What does it mean? It means that there are no GMO products in that, all right? Why did I choose non-GMO or GMO? I want to talk a little bit about what the heck GMO is. GMOs, genetically modified organisms, all right? A lot of people say they're bad. Who thinks they're bad? Who thinks they're good? All right. So, for each side of the story, you're going to have a ton of articles. You're going to read about why Monsanto, now DuPont, is the evilest company ever. They created Agent Orange, and they grow the pesticides, and they make the farmers buy new seeds every year because GMO seeds can't reproduce, which is one of the biggest things, right? When we talk about normal fruit reproducing, drop a seed, grows. That doesn't happen, all right? Guess what, though? Guess why GMOs were originally started? There was yeah, Amber.
If I remember correctly, somebody told me this. I think it's like help like famine in some parts of the world.
Yeah, great. Yes. Yeah, that's totally part of it, right? Hunger, okay? Famine. People who are dying of starvation, okay? Golden rice was one of the original GMOs. Vitamin A deficiency was prevalent in certain countries. Vitamin A in children caused blindness. So we had all these children who were becoming blind because they did not get enough vitamin A in their diet. Guess what? They put vitamin A into golden rice and boom, they reduced childhood blindness like no other. You can have drought-resistant strains of different varietals of plants, cover crops that produce food for nations, for countries, to create an economy, and so that they can grow and have exactly food, like Amber said, helping famine, all right? Helping reduce that. So there are great things and there are terrible things about GMOs. Find your own research. Research both sides. Understand what it means. Okay? It's everywhere. We're going to talk about this later, about farm-raised fish, farm-raised salmon, but start thinking about that. Where does that farm-raised salmon get its color from? Natural feed, pellets, what's going on? So, soil. What are vegetables being grown in? Are they nutrient-rich soils or nutrient-depleted soils? It is a huge conversation, ladies and gents. We can't cover it all. It's on you to get out there and do some research. See what makes sense. And if you have questions, please reach out. I love this topic. I will fight both sides till the day I'm dead and trees are growing out of me. All right? So, yeah, Michelle. You're muted.
Sorry, I keep forgetting that. You know, as far as the growing thing, people just need to use our common sense. We need vitamins and nutrients to grow and become healthy. What makes them think their animals and the produce don't need the same thing? I mean, hello?
Right.
I mean, let's face it. They're saying, you know, red meat can kill you, but now they're saying eat red meat, and then it's back to it'll kill you. It's all hype, guys. Eat what you like, period. This is going to change in 5 years.
Yep, there's always a trend. But I think that we all can make, if you educate yourself, you can make high quality nutritional decisions about what you put into your body and what you choose to cook and eat. But again, like I said, please reach out if you have questions about anything. Here to help. Does anybody else have any other questions regarding the assignment or anything that we covered? Nope. All right. Well then. I hope that you all are excited about this topic. I know it seems like, wait, but I'm just here to cook. But there's so much more that goes into just cooking, right? When you go to the store, you pick your produce, right? You don't pick the tomato that's like smushed, rotting. You don't pick the herbs that are wilted over. So, it's our tool, right? Food and produce is what we use. So, you gotta know about them, all right? Knowledge is power. And on that same note, Michelle was talking about soils. If you grow the same product in soil time after time after time and don't rotate, right? Because crop rotation is a standard thing, you deplete your soil. So if you're growing one crop in one soil, one land area, eventually it's gone. All that vitamin that normally is there. They've actually done tests to see what nutrients, the nutrient level, right, of conventional versus organic. So check it all out, guys. Get excited. This is exciting. This is food. This is what our industry is headed towards. Our industry is a time where everything is on the table, literally. Discussions about where our food comes from, how it's sourced, is it sustainable, what is the value, and what do we need to do? So we're all integral parts of that as future culinarians in the industry. Remember that you play a critical role, and that's all I gotta say. Be wise, be educated. That's the only way you can make good decisions. Chef Greg, anything else? My partner in crime?
No, we probably talk about it every week. Just do your research on both sides, though, because there's there's a lot of good and a lot of bad about a lot of good and a lot of bad. So some things may be amazing for business, but not so great for you, and vice versa. So you just really have to draw your own opinions, which I think is the biggest thing.
Definitely. Thank you, Chef.
Welcome.
Last call for anybody out there. Questions? Otherwise, we're signing off.
Chef, what site did you pull up on that egg when you were talking about the label on the egg carton?
Oh, the egg here. Let me. I'll put that in our chat right now.
Okay.
Hold on one sec.
Yeah, that's a good one to go through when it labeled something and then you read what actually is allowed is pretty shocking.
There we go. And for anybody who's out there, it is takepart.com. Or you could just do a Google search for egg label, and you'll probably do a Google image search for egg labels, and you'll get that. I also want to share this because I think some of you might find this interesting. This is a link to organic foods versus regular food or conventional. It's from the Diabetes Council. And then this is, again, you're going to see different sides from everything, right? It's all about that. Those are pretty good. There's a bunch of other stuff. And one more. This is Spaldbad, the Global Seed Bank, okay? Those kind of blended together, sorry. Separate those with HTTPS. So one thing when you're reading this article about heritage and heirloom, I challenge you to this. Do a research on apples and look up how many different varietals of apples we used to have in the United States, and look what we have at the grocery stores today, okay? A seed bank is a place that stores multiple versions of seeds, because without genetic diversity, right? Genetic diversity, meaning all these different types of apples or squash. If an infestation or a disease comes and wipes them all out, we are screwed, because we don't have a variety to fall back on, because the pest or disease could attack the one strain that we're growing. So it's really important to have diversity. Plus, it's tastier. So check out those links. And look up how many varietals of apples used to be in the United States. All right. Cool. Bring them on, the questions, and until then, next week.
Are the changes for the recipe going up tonight for the soup?
I will do that. I'm just going to slap it into a Google document and put a link to the Google document, everybody, so that you have the right one. So it's not going to be pretty like how they have it, but at least be correct, and that's what matters. All right. Courtly, I saw you had your hand up.
That was the same question I had.
All right. Give me 15 minutes. It'll be up. All right. Start your timers. All right, class. Chef Greg, everybody, have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
And
Thanks, Chef.
bye.